Homicide detectives are called to a community housing block.
Detectives?
Kim Romeo has just discovered her 24-year-old daughter, Belinda, dead.
She was in bed.
Belinda was vivacious and popular.
Can't for myself and everybody for coming. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Captured here at her 21st, in full flight, doing what she did best, living life to the max. But that life was brutally taken over a week ago.
I was banging on the wall and calling out her name, and there was no response. As I turned the corner or towards the end of the hallway, I saw Belinda's feet. It's just a day that I'll never forget.
Okay.
Belinda's mother had attended the flat after not hearing from Belinda for about a week.
Senior Sergeant Barry Macintosh is determined to solve this crime. He knows for a parent, it doesn't get much worse.
Signs of strangulation.
Police suspect Belinda's killer used a piece of her clothing to strangle her.
In the bathroom, we found clothing which were blood-stained.
There were other clues left in the kitchen. A business card.
We needed to clarify why that card was in here.
And a sugar bowl and cup with unidentified fingerprints.
If we can find this person and match the fingerprints, perhaps we've got our killer.
But there's no sign of a break-in, and nothing's been stolen. To police, this all points to one thing.
Belinda would have known a killer.
Real crimes, real detectives, true Australian thrillers. But who's guilty? It's one of the suspects.
This will be useful.
If Belinda knew her murderer,
Phone records.
there's a chance she may have talked to them on the phone.
It's me.
That makes her phone records
Well, what are you doing tonight?
a hot list of suspects.
Okay.
Trouble is, she loved talking.
I'm good.
There'd been something like, for the month of June, just under 1,000 phone contacts.
Detectives start the hard slog of wading through all 1,000 calls on Belinda's phone account.
Yeah, okay.
And that's just a lot of hard detective work, I guess, getting in touch with those people.
You couldn't ignore one phone number. If you ignored it and weren't able to identify who was on the other end of that phone, it could be the potential killer we were letting go.
While police at the station get stuck into the mammoth phone list, crime scene cops check out the neighbours. And then a man who's been hanging around watching approaches Detective Macintosh.
Are you the officer in charge of the case?
Yes, what's your name?
George Joseph.
My name's Macintosh. Smith.
How are you?
Hi.
Actually, I was in a relationship with Belinda.
He indicated to us that he'd been involved in a relationship with Belinda for a couple of months, that had been a sexual relationship, and that Belinda had ended that relationship in favour of someone else.
Too good for him. I don't think that he deserves it.
To police, George Joseph is coming across as a jealous ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
It's highly suspicious that he's hanging around the crime scene.
I will grab your details.
Yeah.
While running a background check on his story, police chase up the new boyfriend. Turns out he is Alipapa Tofalau. Friends confirm he's been dating Belinda for a few months.
He basically told us that the last time he'd had any dealings with Belinda was at the Bridge Club in Richmond. He said that he had last seen her about 4 a.m.
Autopsy results estimate Belinda died 13 hours later, around 5 o'clock the next afternoon. The autopsy also reveals Belinda was strangled to death. And police think they know what the murder weapon was.
Bye, girls.
A distinctive blue scarf she was wearing when last seen.
We did not find, after a thorough search, the actual blue scarf that we believe she was wearing.
They need to find the missing scarf. It could have the killer's DNA on it. Ali Papa Tofalau says he didn't kill
The
Belinda.
afternoon that she died.
He was drinking with mates the afternoon she died.
You can ask any of them.
Would you know anybody that may want to harm her?
There was this one bloke.
He actually tried to turn us towards Mr. Joseph as being a better suspect and suggested that because he was the ex-boyfriend, that maybe there was some problem between Belinda and himself.
Back at the crime scene, police have learned George Joseph was acting really strange before Belinda was killed.
But he hadn't seemed to be able to get over the relationship since she'd broken off with him, so that raised him or elevated him as a suspect for us.
They've got 2 suspects, but very little evidence. Police start searching inside and outside Belinda's block of flats. And then there's a breakthrough. The search turns up some of Belinda's belongings in a cupboard near the stairwell.
On the shelf below was some clothing, and in particular a dressing gown. In the pocket of that dressing gown was a bill.
That bill leads them to yet another 3rd suspect.
Philip May.
May is a neighbour who was seen outside Belinda's door the weekend she was murdered.
Good day, Mr. May. We've got a warrant to search your place.
What's this about? What do you want to come in here for?
Police search May's apartment, looking for anything that can connect him to Belinda's murder.
We entered the upstairs flat here of May at about 7 a.m. Whilst we were searching, May became increasingly agitated. This culminated with him running through the front door here, screaming at the top of his voice, "Help me, help me, help me," as he ran down the steps here and with me in pursuit.
Mr. May? Mr. May?
In Melbourne, a prime suspect in a murder inquiry has done a runner.
Relax, it's okay, Mr. May.
What have I done?
Questions?
After we'd calmed Mr. May down, we took him back to our office for a formal interview.
Did you search your full name?
Witnesses say May was hanging around Belinda Romeo's unit the weekend she was murdered.
At the moment, that I've got people who say they see you at her door on 2 occasions,
No. I wasn't at the door.
and you say it didn't occur.
Yeah. I wasn't at the door at all.
Police also have items found in May's flat that could be Belinda's.
No idea.
A belt
Got no idea where it came from.
and a pair of stockings.
Firstly, can you tell me where these ladies' stockings came from? From Belinda's room? Yeah. Where do you think you found these stockings?
Somewhere round about here.
Could you have got those stockings from Belinda's room?
No.
Forensics on the seized items reveal none of Belinda's DNA. And even though May's been acting suspiciously, everything he has told the police checks out.
May was pretty much out of the limelight as far as any potential suspects were concerned.
That leaves 2 other prime suspects, ex-boyfriend George Joseph and current boyfriend Ali Papa Tofalau. Then the long slog through Belinda's phone log begins to pay off.
Macintosh.
Police have traced where her final call came from.
The last phone call made to Belinda was made from this particular phone box.
The payphone is at the back of Belinda's block of flats.
And we believed that shortly after this phone call was made, that she was murdered.
Whoever made this call could be the killer. But both suspects have alibis placing them well away from the payphone and Belinda's flat. They've hit a dead end.
You get a little bit, not so much, I wouldn't say depressed, but you get a little bit down sometimes with some of these jobs that you don't feel like you're getting anywhere with them.
It's been 4 frustrating weeks since Belinda died. Going beyond the call of duty, Detective Macintosh personally reviews all the evidence and re-examines the crime scene.
I searched the lanes, the gutters, backyards, roofs.
Let's do this.
His search takes him to the rear of the units, to an abandoned, derelict vehicle. It's been checked before, but he still takes another look.
I didn't want to walk away from that car and not have searched that thoroughly.
And then he spots something.
Bloody hell.
They've found Belinda's missing blue scarf.
Well, well, well.
I thought, finally, we've got a break. We've finally got something.
It just gives you that spur to keep going on with the job.
The forensic report confirms the scarf is the murder weapon, but the only DNA that shows up is Belinda's, not the killer's. It's a big blow for detectives.
What's wrong? Nothing. No DNA.
It was gut-wrenching to find out after that there was no identifiable DNA from the offender on that scarf. 1 minute you're on a high and the next you're back to square one.
Detectives have identified almost all the 1,000 calls on Belinda's phone log. One mobile number they've been desperate to trace finally calls police.
Macintosh. Who is this?
It's the needle in the haystack they've been looking for.
When was this? Okay, thanks. Bye. Haven't I got a break for you?
The caller tells them Ali Papa Tofalau wasn't drinking all day with his mates. One of them dropped him off downtown the afternoon Belinda was murdered.
He brought Tofalau here to the corner of Punt Road and Commercial Road, where Tofalau said he wanted to visit his girlfriend. This is less than a block away from where Belinda's flat actually is situated.
Police haul Ali Papa Tofalau in to hear his side of the story.
He says, in fact, he dropped you off at the corner of Commercial Road and Punt Road.
Punt Road, commercial. Can't remember that.
So I put it to you that you went to Belinda's place. He took you to the corner near Belinda's place. What do you say to
No, I
that?
didn't go there.
Things were starting to get a bit tough for him. I think he was being the duck on the water to a certain extent. He was paddling pretty hard underneath, but ultimately he put both hands in the back of his head, leaned back and stared at the ceiling.
Well, must be was him, like try me there
and took another tact. Do you remember getting out at the intersection of Punt Road and Commercial Road?
probably somewhere near there, you know what I mean?
Why did you get out there?
I just tried to go to see her, but I rang, there's no one there.
Where did you ring from?
I rang from public phone.
Whereabouts?
At last, Ali Papa Tofalau has just admitted he was dropped off near Belinda's unit. And he also finally admits he made the 5 p.m. call from the payphone.
We now had Tofalau in the area where the murder was committed and at about the right time. Are you responsible for the death of Belinda?
No. Positive, no.
With no proof he went to Belinda's unit and no confession, cops are forced to let Ali Papa go.
Both Barry and I walked away, I think, and decided that he was our man and that he was lying to us, and we just had to find the evidence to prove that he was the killer.
Once again, they recheck all the evidence. Still unresolved is a business card left in Belinda's kitchen. Detectives have checked out the card's owner and his business several times.
I've told you everything. I don't...
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, and we apologise again, but we need to ask a few questions.
They're determined to find out if the killer left the card.
And find out why his card was left at the victim's place.
I've told you I don't know anything about the card.
Yeah, I know.
In desperation at this business, I said, look, is there anybody else that could have used your card? Do you have any Samoans or Indians working for you?
As a matter of fact, we do. We've got Tia.
Tia who?
Tia Tola.
Do you mind if we talk to him?
No?
Oh, thank you.
Tia!
G'day, mate.
Tia, these gentlemen want to talk to you. They're detectives.
He walked in, he was introduced to me,
That's fine, mate.
immediately burst into tears.
It's all right, mate. So it's...
Just the fact that we had someone break down in tears when the homicide squad have come calling, it gives you an initial thought, here's our murderer and he's carrying all this guilt and he's just going to unload now and tell us everything.
Could police have got it wrong? Is this Belinda's killer?
Let's go.
Later on the suspects. A turf war rocks the shampoo industry. And an 80-year-old amateur sleuth,
To say the least, a little bit of a nosy neighbour.
joins the hunt for the ruthless mastermind.
He had the criminal connection to have witnesses eliminated.
Now, back to the case of the strangled daughter.
Going home now, baby.
In Melbourne, cops were almost certain Ali Papa Tofalau strangled Belinda Romeo 12 months ago. But in a search for more evidence to nail him, they've uncovered a surprise new suspect, Fiangi Tiatala.
That's fine, mate.
I took Tiatala back to the homicide squad officers and came back to the interview room to find Tiatala in tears, on his knees, praying.
They run Tiatala's fingerprints, and bingo. They match the unidentified prints left in Belinda's kitchen on the cup and sugar bowl.
He stayed at her flat Saturday night prior to her death.
But in a shock revelation, Tiatala tells police he was at Belinda's flat because he was her current boyfriend.
You know what? Leave me alone. Okay, go find someone else. And give me my key back.
Come here.
He met her a week before when she publicly dumped Ali Papa.
Just give me my key, okay?
No, you're...
Piss off!
Belinda said she didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I'm with him now.
Furthermore, Tiatala has a rock-solid alibi. He was nowhere near Belinda's flat when she was killed. A jilted and jealous Ali Papa was.
The issue now was how were we going to get sufficient evidence to support a charge of murder.
Mr. Tofalau.
The cops decide to rattle Ali Papa's cage. They want to shake him up, see him panic.
This is a formal request for you to attend Melbourne Magistrates Court.
They tell him they have new evidence on Belinda's murder, and they might need his DNA.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Their ploy pays off.
I got a bit of trouble with the cops, man.
Faced with the threat he'll be identified, a rattled Ali Papa blurts out the truth to a friend.
We got in an argument and things kind of got out of hand.
But his friend dobs him in and tells police what really happened the afternoon Belinda Romeo was brutally murdered.
He said that he'd attended at the flat on the Sunday, that she let him into the unit.
I think he was just someone who was incredibly possessive.
Get the hell out of here.
I believe he was probably someone that looked down on her a little bit.
Get off me. I don't want anything more to do with you. Get out of here.
They then had an argument.
You're a loser.
I'm a loser!
For her to turn him away, that was a big dent to his ego.
Tofalau said that he pulled the phone cord from the wall because he knew he was going to kill Belinda.
Oh, get off me. Ah, you're hurting me. Get off me.
He used a scarf that was around her neck to strangle her with.
It is a cruel and senseless killing.
He took away a daughter, sister, an auntie. But I know that Belinda is at peace now. She's at peace.
"5:30 a.m., just south of the city. A shadowy figure is up to no good. A mission of destruction. It will take only a few minutes. And a huge warehouse stacked full of hair and beauty products explodes in flames.
The owner says the cost could be a staggering $50 million.
As the warehouse burns, no one has any doubt. The fire was deliberately lit.
These sort of fires don't just happen.
It's unbelievable. This is the 11th unsolved arson to rock the lucrative shampoo industry in the past 5 years. The cops have had enough. Detectives Rudens and Ruse head up a brand new arson unit. Their assignment? Take down the thugs who lit the shampoo warehouse fires.
The difficulty in investigating arson offences is that all of your evidence, your physical evidence, is destroyed by the fire or by the emergency services extinguishing the fire.
The task force takes on the arduous job of revisiting all 11 cases.
The first of those was Matrix Essentials.
I actually think I do have something on Matrix Essentials.
The initial police investigation into the Matrix warehouse fire revealed a highly suspicious coincidence.
Matrix were in the process of taking another business to court.
They were suing a rival company to stop them illegally selling Matrix hair products. This fire broke out only 4 hours before the court case.
Matrix at the time were in legal action against...
Possibly a coincidence, but 2 days later, the owner of the Torch shampoo warehouse, Robert Orban, gets a chilling call. Stop the court action or else.
This person said, we expect that you should drop that case. Otherwise, we'll do away with your son. I still get a bit emotional about that, even all these years later.
The threat worked. Roberts stopped his court action.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
As far as police can tell, the dropped court case would profit only one person, the defendant, Gabriel Zachen, of G&T Hairdressing Supplies.
We've come up with 10 fires that have a similar MO.
Detectives wonder if they're dealing with a shampoo industry turf war over who gets to sell brand-name hairdressing supplies.
G'day, guys. What can I do for you? I'm pretty busy out the back.
They decide to call on Mr. Zachen.
We're investigating the Matrix factory fire in 1998.
Did you catch the bastards who did that?
Not yet, sir. We're pursuing a new line of inquiries on that one. I understand you had some legal action pending with them the next day.
Yeah, but guys, I told you everything I knew about that ages ago.
The Special Arson Unit, like the first police investigation, can't find evidence that Zachen had anything to do with the arson attack or the threatening phone call.
Can you see yourselves out? The gate's just there. You get the right way out? Right. See you, mate.
I don't know, mate.
They've got nothing on Mr. Zachen.
Yeah, well, it'd be a bit stupid, wouldn't it? Burning down the opposition immediately before you had legal proceedings with him, a bit obvious.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, detectives check out Zachen against all 11 fires. He comes up clean.
Call me tonight and find out, OK? I've got to get back.
For every fire, he had an alibi. He was overseas, he was interstate, he was at home, he was at parties.
Detectives probe Zachen's financial and phone records and those of his business associates, but still find nothing suspicious.
We went through thousands and thousands of phone records, looking at employees of the various companies and anyone else who we considered would have a motive to set these fires.
Finally, one name stands out.
Okay, you might have something.
Jonathan Stanley, that rings a bell.
Jonathan Stanley, an employee of Zackham's at the time of the Matrix fire.
He was a sales rep and was a bit of a rogue. He had a criminal background. His priors were suggestive that he may be responsible for arson.
Detectives lean on one of Jono's crim mates to wear a wire.
How's it going, dude?
They want to find out if Jono was working for Zackham, making death threats and lighting fires.
You've been on a bit of an earner lately.
Maybe I am. Maybe not.
Sure enough, with a few beers under his belt, Jono boasts about the money he made burning down a hair supply warehouse.
Easiest money I've ever made.
He said that he climbed up on the roof using the downpipe.
Go in, just like a ninja at night.
That he got into the building, down onto the floor of the building.
Through the window, throw the little juice around. You would love it. You'd love it.
Police now have a taped confession. There's just one problem. He's lying.
The way he described where a wall was and where accelerant was distributed didn't match what we knew in the physical evidence.
Cops don't have a clue.
Turns out, Jono is a bit of a storyteller.
It was clear to us that he was making it all up to gain favour with his criminal underworld friends and try to big note himself.
Police have got nothing on Jono and nothing on his boss, Zackham. It's been 9 months and they're back to square one.
We effectively had to start all over again.
In Sydney, a special arson squad is investigating 11 shampoo warehouse fires.
Now, do you have any other notes on Matrix?
As police review stacks of evidence, an unidentified fingerprint from the first Matrix fire comes up once again.
It was up here on the steel capping on the wall, and with the technology back when this fire occurred, it wasn't capable of matching that fingerprint.
They rerun the print using the latest technology.
Detective Rudens. Cheers. Thanks, mate. Bye. Guess what? You know the fingerprints we took out Matrix?
Yeah.
We've got a match.
It was definitely a high point of the investigation. We'd identified a person who had his fingerprints on the roof of that factory. That person had a lot of explaining to do.
That person is armed robber, car thief, burglar and drug seller Anthony Keith Coleman. Police do the hard yards of checking Coleman's phone records.
What numbers you got on your side?
And door-knocking his old neighbourhood.
Yeah, this looks like it.
Detectives have a hunch he wouldn't have gone unnoticed.
He wasn't a fellow that was particularly liked.
He certainly left an impression on one elderly neighbour.
We're just door-knocking the area at the moment and
Just making some inquiries about one of your neighbours.
Anthony Coleman.
Anthony Coleman? Yes, there's some funny goings on over there.
She had a very high respect for policing.
Boys, would you like a biscuit?
Oh, thank you very much. Cheers.
There's my records to make sure that everything's safe in the neighbourhood.
Patricia was, to say the least, a little bit of a nosy neighbour and didn't like Anthony Coleman.
She didn't trust him either.
I have the date and the time.
So much so, she kept extremely detailed records of Coleman's comings and goings.
I don't suppose phone numbers are any good to you, are they?
Phone numbers?
Only if you got Anthony's.
Well, yes, I do have Anthony's, yes.
she spoke to his mother, who told her about a telephone number that was used by Anthony Coleman that was not